What was meant to be a casual, playful moment between NFL stars instantly exploded into one of the most talked-about controversies of the year. A single comment called Shedeur Sanders broke, flipping the room, shocking fans, and exposing just how misunderstood rookie status, wealth, and influence really are in today's NFL. It was supposed to be just another lighthearted conversation between young NFL stars, a casual offseason chat where jokes flew, playful jabs bounced back and forth, and everyone left smiling. Fans were expecting friendly competition, not a moment that would dominate sports media for days. But then, everything changed in a single, unexpected line. Shedeur Sanders, already living under the intense scrutiny that comes with a famous last name and rising rookie status, found himself at the center of a sudden storm. The room had been charged with energy, competitive, sure, but friendly. Micah Parsons, Shiloh Sanders, the Sanders brothers, and other young talents were exchanging banter, laughter filling the space. Nobody thought twice about it. This was normal. This was expected. This was the NFL. And then Skattebo, the New York Giants running back, decided to throw a line that didn't land like a joke. Out of nowhere, he looked at Shedeur and called him broke. Not playful, not teasing, not part of any clever roast, just flat-out labeling one of the most financially successful rookies in NFL history as broke. The room froze. The casual laughter disappeared. Side eyes were exchanged. Everyone suddenly felt the temperature shift. The comment was meant to be humor, a jab at draft position. Skattebo had referenced Shedeur being on a fifth-round contract, but it completely missed the mark. Instead, it revealed a lack of understanding of today's NFL business landscape. Draft slot doesn't define worth anymore. Not for rookies with branding, social media influence, and strategic deals. Not for someone like Shedeur Sanders, who walked into the league already operating on a level most veterans haven't reached. What happened next wasn't explosive shouting or a viral meltdown. Shedeur didn't raise his voice, he didn't lash out, he gave a look, a calm, controlled look that said far more than words ever could. And then he smiled, but it wasn't friendly, it wasn't warm. That smile told the world he knew more than they realized, that assumptions were being made on incomplete information, and that true influence isn't measured by draft position or a signing bonus. In that moment, the rookie showed composure, confidence, and understanding that financial power and market influence operate on a completely different plane than the traditional NFL metrics most players still chase. The line was crossed, sure, but the response? Legendary. It exposed who was playing checkers while Shedeur was playing chess, and the rest of the NFL world was about to notice. The moment Shedeur Sanders heard the word broke thrown at him, most people would have reacted. Some rookies might have snapped, raised their voices, or tried to humiliate the person in return. They'd feel cornered, exposed, or challenged in front of the cameras. But Shedeur didn't, not even close. Instead, he did something far more powerful. He stayed completely composed. His eyes locked on Skattebo, but there was no anger, no hesitation, just a calm, measured presence that seemed to say, I understand what's really happening here and you don't. That look alone spoke volumes, more than words ever could. It communicated experience, confidence, and a clear understanding of his own value. Everyone watching could feel it, even through the screen. This wasn't the reaction of a rookie trying to prove himself. This was the response of someone who had been molded by pressure since birth. Someone who had learned early that emotional reactions rarely serve your long-term interests. And then came the smile. But it wasn't the smile of a teammate who appreciated a clever joke. It wasn't warm or playful. It was quiet, controlled, almost imperceptible. But it carried a message so strong that anyone paying attention couldn't miss it. That smile told the world that assumptions had been made based on incomplete information. That someone had underestimated the depth of Shedeur's understanding. That the person speaking had no idea what kind of business and personal infrastructure he had already built. It was a masterclass in composure under pressure. While the room's energy had shifted uncomfortably, Shedeur's demeanor restored control without a single word. The conversation could have spiraled into a viral confrontation, a shouting match, or endless social media criticism, but he prevented all of it with silence and measured body language. That quiet confidence, backed by facts, showed that Shedeur wasn't worried about short-term perceptions. He was playing a longer game, one most rookies couldn't even begin to imagine. This wasn't arrogance. This wasn't insecurity masked as calm. It was elite-level awareness. He knew that in today's NFL, influence is measured not just on the field, but in contracts, endorsements, branding, and equity deals. He understood that the loudest voice in the room doesn't always know the full story. And in that one instant, Shedeur Sanders demonstrated that while others might chase immediate validation, he was already strategically securing his long-term legacy. By the time the cameras panned away, the message was clear. Shedeur wasn't just a rookie under scrutiny. He was a player operating on a level far beyond the immediate drama, quietly commanding respect and establishing dominance in the business of football before ever stepping onto the field. That calm, confident response wasn't just impressive, it was a statement the entire NFL world would never forget. When most people think about an NFL rookie's value, they look at draft position, stats, or contract numbers. That's old thinking. Shedeur Sanders has already rewritten the rules. The moment you understand his jersey sales, you realize he isn't just a quarterback, he's a market force. Not the highest-selling rookie, not the highest-selling quarterback, highest-selling player in the entire league. That's right. Across every team, every veteran, every superstar, his name is moving more merchandise than anyone else. That kind of demand isn't hype. It isn't inflated because of a famous last name. It's raw market power. Every jersey bought is a vote of confidence. Fans are literally putting their money behind him, and that translates into influence, leverage, and revenue far beyond the field. In today's NFL, market power matters as much as performance. Being popular in the stadium isn't enough anymore. Shedeur's jersey dominance proves he is culturally relevant, commercially valuable, and strategically positioned for long-term success. When executives, sponsors, and analysts see that kind of traction, they don't think rookie potential, they think game-changing asset. And this isn't limited to apparel. The ripple effect touches endorsements, brand partnerships, and media opportunities. Shedeur isn't just selling jerseys, he's selling influence. Every transaction reinforces his value. Every fan interaction strengthens his platform. This is leverage that can alter negotiations, contract discussions, and even sponsorship equity. While some rookies are scrambling to make a name on the field, Shedeur has already built a financial footprint that dwarfs many seasoned pros. Consider the context. Players who have spent a decade in the league, earned Pro Bowl appearances, or won championships don't automatically reach this level of market power. Shedeur did it before his first full season. He turned fan enthusiasm into measurable economic impact, making a statement. Influence and strategic positioning can outweigh traditional metrics. And here's the kicker, the market doesn't lie. Numbers are objective. Jersey sales reflect demand, demand reflects clout, and clout is power. Shedeur's position as the top seller isn't just symbolic. It's a tangible asset that translates to leverage in negotiations, long-term wealth creation, and a platform that commands attention across every aspect of the NFL ecosystem. While some players measure success by contract numbers or draft order, Shedeur measures it by control, influence, and potential. That's why when someone casually calls him broke, it doesn't just miss the mark, it exposes a complete misunderstanding of modern NFL economics. Shedeur isn't just surviving the system, he's operating on a level that reshapes it entirely, using jersey sales as a stepping stone to dominance both on and off the field. When most rookies land a massive endorsement, they celebrate immediately, post the news on social media, and move on. Guaranteed money, instant validation, headline-making checks. That's the typical path, but Shedeur Sanders didn't move like a typical rookie. When Gatorade reportedly offered him $60 million over 3 years, most players would have signed without hesitation. Instant wealth, guaranteed security, headlines, applause, and social media buzz. For anyone else, it's the dream. For Shedeur, it was just the starting point. Instead of taking the money up front, Shedeur made a decision that stunned everyone watching. He didn't see the deal as a trophy or a paycheck. He saw long-term opportunity. He pushed for equity ownership in Gatorade itself. Reports suggest he negotiated for a 3% stake in one of the most valuable beverage companies in the world. Let that sink in. While most players are chasing headline numbers, Shedeur is thinking decades ahead, positioning himself to earn for generations, not just seasons. This move isn't flashy. It won't show up in instant contract graphics or highlight reels. But in the world of wealth building and business strategy, it's monumental. Equity doesn't expire. Revenue continues year after year. Brand value compounds. And when you're talking about a global brand like Gatorade, even a small percentage can generate sums that dwarf typical NFL salaries, even for veteran quarterbacks. Shedeur isn't just thinking like an athlete, he's thinking like a CEO. He's playing chess while the rest are playing checkers. The implications are huge. By securing equity, Shedeur gains something far more valuable than immediate cash: leverage, negotiating power, influence over future opportunities, strategic positioning that extends his reach far beyond the field. When corporations and investors see a young athlete operating at this level, they don't just respect him, they reevaluate the value of every rookie contract in the league. Shedeur is setting a blueprint for the modern athlete, one where financial intelligence and branding strategy outweigh traditional metrics like draft position or rookie paychecks. And the timing couldn't be more significant. While other rookies scramble to make headlines on the field, Shedeur has already quietly rewritten the financial playbook. Critics might still question his draft position, analysts might debate his on-field potential, and fans might misinterpret his actions as cautious. But the facts are indisputable. Equity stakes, brand influence, and strategic partnerships are real assets that most players don't even consider until they're decades into their career. Shedeur did it before his first full season. This isn't just about being smart, it's about understanding the big picture. The Gatorade equity story proves that Shedeur Sanders sees the NFL and sports business as one interconnected system. On-field performance is important, yes, but off-field strategy creates the kind of generational wealth that transforms a career into a legacy. While others chase immediate validation, Shedeur is building power that compounds silently but relentlessly. And that's why anyone calling him broke is completely missing the point. This wasn't about a single check. This was about strategic foresight, ownership, and creating wealth that lasts far beyond the Sunday spotlight. In today's NFL, that's the kind of thinking that separates the good from the legendary. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a rookie quarterback, he's a business phenomenon in cleats, and this Gatorade story is just one piece of a much bigger blueprint. Before Shedeur Sanders ever stepped onto an NFL field, before the draft lights shined, before analysts debated his worth, he was already quietly building a personal empire that most professional athletes only dream about. While other rookies were focused solely on workouts, memorizing playbooks, or worrying about their first contract, Shedeur was laying the foundation for generational influence. This wasn't flashy Instagram posts or empty hype. This was strategic infrastructure, a blueprint designed to ensure that when the NFL doors opened, he was not just prepared to play football but prepared to dominate the business side of the league. Shedeur's rise began long before most people even knew his name. Some reports suggest that he had already secured meetings with major brands while still in college, cultivating relationships that would later translate into multi-million-dollar partnerships. He wasn't waiting for a draft announcement to make waves. He was already showing corporations that he had influence, marketability, and a clear understanding of his own brand value. Analysts might have overlooked it at the time, but Shedeur's approach revealed one undeniable truth. The modern athlete isn't just a player, they're a brand, a CEO, and a market force. Even at this early stage, jerseys, merchandise, and fan engagement were already trending in ways that would shock many. Social media followings that normally spike after professional debuts were growing steadily, fueled by authentic connections, personal branding, and a narrative that resonated with fans. Shedeur wasn't chasing viral moments for short-term attention. He was strategically building cultural relevance, laying the groundwork to convert influence into tangible financial power. And then there's the pressure factor. Shedeur grew up under a microscope as the son of a legend with expectations that would overwhelm most young athletes. While other rookies struggled with comparisons, social media criticism, and early career hype, Shedeur embraced it, using scrutiny as fuel to sharpen his vision for the bigger picture. Every interview, every public appearance, every handshake with a brand executive was part of a long-term plan. A silent accumulation of strategic victories that few people outside of his inner circle even noticed. By the time he entered the NFL, Shedeur Sanders had already outpaced his peers in every measurable off-field metric. Endorsement deals, social media growth, fan engagement, and merchandise sales were all trending in one direction upward. Analysts and casual fans focused on draft rounds and contract numbers, but the real story was happening behind the scenes. Shedeur wasn't just earning money. He was establishing leverage, building assets, and positioning himself as an elite player before a single professional snap. This pre-NFL strategy wasn't about ego, it was about vision. While the league traditionally measured rookie potential with draft position or athletic metrics, Shedeur was creating a multidimensional blueprint, a player who could impact the league on the field, the marketplace, and in culture. That foundation allowed him to step into every subsequent opportunity with authority, confidence, and leverage that rookies typically acquire only after years in the league. In short, Shedeur Sanders arrived in the NFL not just as a quarterback, but as a prepared, market-savvy force. His pre-draft brand explosion didn't happen by accident. It was carefully orchestrated, quietly executed, and profoundly impactful. While the media debated hype versus talent, Shedeur was already shaping the financial and cultural landscape of professional football, in that early groundwork. It set the stage for every high-profile moment, every viral exchange, and every business decision that would later define him as more than a player, an icon in the making. Entering the NFL as a rookie is already a battlefield. You're facing players who have spent years mastering the league, veterans who have earned respect the hard way, and analysts who dissect every throw and every move. For most first-year players, navigating this environment is a delicate balancing act. How do you assert yourself without overstepping? How do you earn respect without creating unnecessary enemies? Shedeur Sanders walked into this world with one advantage. He had already mastered respect on his own terms, and he was prepared to challenge the traditional hierarchy quietly but effectively. The tension between rookies and veterans is real in every locker room. Veterans expect deference. Rookies are often reminded of their position, draft status, and inexperience. But Shedeur's presence didn't fit into anyone's script. He wasn't trying to dominate through loud talk or aggressive antics. Instead, he wielded a different kind of authority, quiet confidence backed by undeniable accomplishments off the field. That's the kind of aura that makes seasoned players pause. You don't need to shout when your actions and foresight speak volumes, and Shedeur Sanders had plenty of actions to back him up. One of the most striking examples came during live shows and media appearances. While rookies are usually cautious, deferring to the louder voices of established stars, Shedeur maintained poise under scrutiny, even when veterans tried to test him. It wasn't about ego, it was about demonstrating awareness. Veteran players often underestimate rookies, assuming inexperience equals ignorance. But when Shedeur received comments intended to undermine him, his responses were deliberate, measured, and strategically powerful. A single look, a calm smile, a fact-based rebuttal, that was enough to shift the room's perception without creating chaos. This dynamic also highlights a shift in league culture. Today, a rookie's value isn't just determined by on-field performance, it's also about brand influence, social presence, and marketability. Veterans who grew up in a different NFL era sometimes fail to recognize the leverage rookies like Shedeur can wield. They assume draft position equals authority. They forget that influence now comes in many forms. Shedeur's early moves, negotiating equity deals, building partnerships, and cultivating a loyal fanbase, gave him credibility that transcended years of experience. In many ways, rookies like him arrive pre-equipped with power that once only came after seasons of proving oneself. Yet respect in the locker room is still earned. Shedeur understood this perfectly. He didn't demand attention or push boundaries unnecessarily. He let performance, preparation, and intelligence do the talking. Veterans noticed, analysts took note, and even rivals were forced to acknowledge that here was someone who understood the full picture, someone whose authority wasn't inherited or granted. It was earned through strategy and composure. That combination of talent, maturity, and foresight created a natural tension. Some veterans felt challenged, some rookies saw a blueprint to emulate, everyone else watched, captivated. What's most fascinating is how Shedeur managed to redefine rookie influence without creating enemies. He didn't need to dominate conversations or publicly belittle veterans. Instead, he operated in a space where respect wasn't demanded, it was recognized because it was earned and undeniable. And that's what separates rookies who fade into the background from those who change the narrative. Understanding that authority isn't always loud and that the perception of power often follows calculated confidence and results. By the time Shedeur stepped onto the field, he had already shifted the rookie versus veteran balance in his favor. He wasn't just another young quarterback trying to survive. He was a rookie who had mastered influence, built authority, and quietly redefined what it means to earn respect in a league dominated by tradition. And that tension, rookies asserting themselves, veterans adjusting, set the stage for every subsequent drama, confrontation, and high-stakes moment that would follow in his career. Modern NFL isn't just about what happens between the lines on Sundays. In today's league, being a star isn't measured solely by touchdowns, tackles, or Pro Bowl selections. It's measured by influence, marketability, and the ability to create value beyond your contract. Shedeur Sanders didn't just enter the league as a quarterback. He entered as a fully-fledged business operator, understanding the subtle dynamics that most players won't even grasp until years into their careers, if ever. Consider the rookie contract myth. Many fans assume that a fifth-round pick automatically means limited earnings, minimal impact, and the typical struggle to prove oneself. But that thinking is outdated. In the modern NFL, draft position is only one piece of the puzzle. Social media presence, merchandise sales, equity stakes, sponsorships, and licensing agreements have created a whole new economic ecosystem. Rookies who understand this system can leverage it to a level far beyond what a traditional contract would allow. Shedeur Sanders is living proof. Long before he took his first NFL snap, Shedeur had already positioned himself as a revenue-generating powerhouse. Analysts, critics, and fans saw only the fifth-round label, missing the bigger picture. What they didn't realize was that he had strategically built a framework to capitalize on attention, brand recognition, and long-term growth, giving him financial leverage most veterans only dream about. That isn't luck, that's vision, that's calculated strategy. And in a league where branding is now as critical as performance, rookies like Shedeur are redefining how influence translates to wealth. Take jersey sales, for instance. While most rookies focus on learning the playbook and adjusting to NFL speed, Shedeur's merchandise became a national phenomenon. He isn't just selling to fans of his team, he's selling to fans of the sport, fans of his legacy, and people who recognize his unique positioning. Jersey sales aren't just symbolic, they're tangible leverage. In today's business landscape, the player who sells the most jerseys is already generating multi-million-dollar value independent of his contract. And Shedeur didn't stop there. Then came the game-changing endorsement moves. Shedeur was approached with offers that would make any player pause, a $60 million deal from a major brand guaranteed. Most players would take that without hesitation, cashing in on instant wealth. Shedeur, however, recognized a bigger opportunity: ownership and equity stakes. Instead of a guaranteed payout, he negotiated for a percentage of the company, understanding that long-term wealth isn't about instant checks, it's about positioning oneself as a stakeholder in the enterprise. That single decision separated him from 99% of his peers, highlighting a financial acumen rarely seen in rookies or even seasoned veterans. The implications are staggering. Ownership stakes aren't just money, they're leverage, control, and influence over future opportunities. In a league where most players rely solely on their base contracts, Shedeur has unlocked diverse revenue streams that continue generating returns regardless of on-field performance. Social media, partnerships, media appearances, licensing deals, all of these amplify his market value. While critics debate draft positions or rookie stats, Shedeur is quietly building a financial empire that rivals some of the wealthiest athletes in history. What this reveals about the modern NFL is critical. The loudest voice in the room isn't always the most valuable. Influence, brand strength, and strategic positioning now define a player's true worth, sometimes far more than on-field production. And rookies like Shedeur are proving that a player doesn't need a decade-long career to achieve financial and cultural dominance. They just need vision, savvy, and the courage to think beyond conventional structures. By the time Shedeur steps onto the field, the story isn't just about football. It's about a rookie who understands the rules of the modern business game better than most veterans, who is already leveraging influence, brand, and equity to create a financial and cultural footprint few can rival. That's the modern NFL in action, and Shedeur Sanders isn't just participating, he's leading the evolution. What happened with Shedeur Sanders on that live show wasn't just a viral clip. It wasn't simply about someone calling him broke or trying to make a quick joke. That moment, as brief as it seemed on screen, revealed layers of understanding, strategy, and composure that most people overlook. It wasn't about ego. It wasn't about shouting louder than the room. It was about demonstrating a level of control and foresight that separates the casual athlete from someone operating at an entirely different tier. Think about it, rookies enter the NFL with pressure that can feel unbearable. Every throw is scrutinized, every interview is dissected, every social media post is measured as if it defines their entire worth. Some players crumble under that weight, others overcompensate, lashing out, trying to prove they belong. But Shedeur, he walked in already understanding the system, already aware of what mattered, and already prepared to act in ways that most players won't even think of until they're 10 years into their careers. That calm smile he gave on that show, it wasn't empty. It wasn't performative. It was pure confidence rooted in preparation, data, and strategy. The fact that a casual comment from Skattebo could even seem relevant is what makes this story fascinating. Most people assume the word broke carried weight because that's the conventional lens through which they view athletes. But in the modern NFL, that lens is outdated. Financial worth isn't just your salary. It's your brand, your equity, your influence, your ability to monetize your own name and legacy. And Shedeur Sanders is living proof that the most powerful players in the league aren't always the ones with the flashiest stats. They're the ones who understand how to convert attention into long-term value. Consider the Gatorade equity move. A guaranteed $60 million deal. Most players would sign immediately, flashing the contract on social media and moving on. Shedeur, he negotiated ownership, equity, long-term stake in a company generating billions annually. That's thinking decades ahead, not weeks. That's positioning yourself as a billionaire in the making while still being a rookie quarterback. And it's precisely why calling him broke isn't just wrong, it's laughably out of touch with reality. This is a player building generational wealth, while most of his peers are focused on comparing signing bonuses, draft positions, and short-term numbers. Moments like this also highlight a shift in how we measure success. The loudest voices in the room, the ones who assume influence is defined by social media clout or surface-level achievements, aren't necessarily the most informed. Shedeur understands this. His trajectory proves that influence, strategic partnerships, and savvy financial moves are more powerful currencies than simply being loud or visible. He isn't just surviving the scrutiny, he's using it as leverage to advance his empire. Every misinformed comment, every quick jab, every misguided take is a reminder that perception often lags behind preparation, and Shedeur Sanders is leagues ahead. And here's the part most people miss. The viral moment was never really about money. It was about knowledge, awareness, and the ability to see the bigger picture. While the world focused on the word broke, Shedeur's quiet dominance was already building momentum behind the scenes. From merchandise sales to endorsement deals to equity stakes, his off-field portfolio is shaping a future that could make him one of the youngest active billionaires in NFL history. That's not hype, that's math, that's strategy, that's foresight. So when you watch that clip now, understand what it really represents. It's not just a viral soundbite to clip and share. It's a lesson in composure, financial literacy, and strategic thinking. It's the story of a rookie quarterback who understood the stakes better than anyone else in the room, who used perception as a tool, and who leveraged opportunities in ways that most veterans would envy. Shedeur Sanders is showing the NFL and the world that success isn't defined by the noise around you. It's defined by the moves you make when no one is watching, and the foundation you build for decades to come. And as the league evolves, as contracts grow, as social media amplifies every moment, one thing becomes crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders isn't just playing football. He's playing the business of football smarter than anyone else, and that viral moment, it's only the beginning. The real story is still unfolding.